big week for small business. This is day 3. There is a lot of content still to come, so we're happy that you're here. We hope that you'll be joining us for the rest of the sessions later on this afternoon. So my name is Lyndsay Polloway. I serve as Vice President of Events at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and again, so happy that you are here. This morning, our workshop will offer you ideas on how you can reset and rethink your workspace to optimize your physical health and productivity. And as I mentioned before, if you're just joining us, let us know where you are tuning in from. I don't mean where you are in the world and geography, I mean physically where you are in your home or your office. We're joined this morning by no stranger to the Co and U.S. Chamber stage, Anna Greenwald. Anna is a mindfulness coach, speaker, and founder and CEO of On the Goga, an organizational well-being company that helps build happier, healthier, and more productive teams through virtual well-being programs, HR policy development, and leadership trainings and coaching. So through her work, she helps organizations design culture-driven well-being programs based on emotional intelligence, brand strategy, and comprehensive well-being. In terms of our run of show today, I'm going to pass it over to Anna momentarily. She's going to take us through a couple of slides with ideas and best practices and takeaways that we can all take back to our offices, wherever those might be, whether they are in the basement or whether they are in a high-rise office building. And throughout, she's going to offer you a number of moments to comment in the chat. You can also use the hand raise feature if you'd like to be called on directly. A reminder, if you've not done so already, please do mute your microphones and turn off your cameras just so we're preserving bandwidth. Okay, well, those are my housekeeping notes. Anna, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lyndsay. Really appreciate it. I'm going to share my screen over here. Can you guys just give me a little thumbs up in the chat, like a yes, if you can see the screen over here?
You're good to go. Thumbs up. Verbal thumbs up as well.
Verbal thumbs up. Cool. Thanks, guys. Awesome. So yeah, welcome. My name is Anna. Oh, someone actually did the actual little emoji thumbs up. I love that. So yeah, again, just to reiterate what Lyndsay said, let's keep our videos off for now, mute your microphones, but please, please, please open the conversation box, because it's one thing for me to stand here and talk to you for, 30, 40 minutes about your workspace, but it's a totally different thing for us to have a conversation about what your workspace looks like, what it feels like, and how these principles that we're going to talk about apply to you. So before we jump in, just a really quick kickoff. My name is Anna, like Lyndsay said. I am the founder and CEO of On the Goga. We are an organizational well-being company, which means that we help organizations keep their employees, leadership, and operational systems happy and healthy. And our motto is really simple. It's happy people do great things. So that is number one, why we start all of our presentations with a picture of an adorable animal. So you get a little pug here today. But really today, we're going to be talking about practical tools. So this workshop is a really awesome kind of combination effort between a lot of our amazing well-being coaches here at On the Goga, our psychology team, ergonomics and chiropractic team, and our workspace development team to talk about what makes a truly ergonomic, healthy, productive workspace. So I'm actually going to pass it over to you guys for a moment in the chat. And I would love, like, no wrong answers here. Just throw a couple words in. What's your favorite part of your workspace? So you can tell me about the color of your workspace, the light in your workspace, where you are, some piece of technology that you have. Yeah, exactly. Laura said my large monitor. Absolutely. I have like a double monitor setup going on here, which is really awesome. Yes, Chris said stand-up desk. I've got one of those right now too. MJ said I can see outside. Yes, beautiful. Nice. Lyndsay said my new ergonomic chair from Amazon, huge upgrade from the dining room chair. Yes, absolutely. Those chair investments make a big difference. We'll talk about that today. Plants in the window. Yes, my secondary monitor. I feel like you guys have my home office. You're listing all things that I have going on right now. Natural light. Beautiful. Yes. Awesome. So keep throwing ideas in there. What do you love about your workspace? As we wait for some more answers to come in, I'm just going to do a really brief overview of exactly why we're here, what we're going to be talking about today. We're here to help give practical tools to make our unique workspaces better. And hopefully some of you out there are also part of teams, leaders of teams who can bring these best practices back to your organizations, especially if you have people who are working from home. The nice thing about everything we're going to talk about today is, like Lyndsay says, it doesn't matter where you are, whether you're in a cubicle, whether you are in your basement, your kitchen, working from home, working from the office. These are universal best practices. So the first thing we're going to do, we're just going to define what the heck ergonomics is. What is an ergonomic workspace? We're going to understand why that matters for us on a physical level and an emotional level. We're going to explore what an optimal workspace looks like. And the end goal is to create a happy, healthy workspace. And it looks like Alan in the chat is already one step ahead of all of us because it seems like he has a margarita machine in his workspace, which is amazing. Cool. So yeah, I love that Jill said, I love that my desk is 2 steps from, it's just 2 steps to my desk with working from home. And I know we all have, pluses and minuses from the work from home situation, but the lack of commute, that extra time can be a really big benefit for us. So my next question for you guys, would love to hear from you what you think of when you think of ergonomics, right? If someone says ergonomics, what is ergonomics? This doesn't have to be a dictionary definition. Just throw out, what words do you think of? What maybe tools do you think of? Do you think of situations? What are ergonomics? Just throw it in the chat there. Yeah, love it. Lyndsay said body alignment, question mark. I love that. Yeah, comfort, beautiful. Working in positions that support your body health. Posture, great. These are great. I think of, yeah, standards and human anatomy, beautiful. I love this idea, Erna, of standards, right? Like things that we do, actions we take, kind of limits we set with ourselves around our anatomy, beautiful. All of these are great answers and totally part of the definition of ergonomics. Ergonomics itself actually just has to do with the study of people's efficiency in their work environment. And so obviously that really applies to our physical efficiency, right? Protecting ourselves from physical harm, but it also has to do with things that maybe don't have so much to do with what we would traditionally think of as physicality. For example, a lot of people noted, oh, I like that I can just step right to my office. I don't have to have a big long commute. Or I love that I can see natural light. Obviously, like most things in the world, if it is good for your mental health, it's probably good for your physical health and the other way around. But ergonomics is about whatever makes your workspace efficient. And obviously the goal of this is to eliminate discomfort, whether that's physical discomfort, mental discomfort, and the risk of injury due to work. So the purpose of an ergonomic workstation is kind of twofold, right? Number one, and we're going to go through both of these in our workshop today. Number one is to prevent health issues. So your workstation shouldn't cause injury to you through poor alignment. And I love, we already used the word body alignment here, through poor posture. And in addition to that, your ergonomic workstation can encourage productivity. So mental productivity, helping understand what stimuli in our environment help or hinder our ability to get our work done during the day, right? We all know you can have the most posturally effective workstation, and if you have to be on Zoom calls for 12 hours in a day, you're not going to be super productive, right? So an ergonomic workstation is designed to create an environment that helps you feel productive. So like I said, we're going to go through practical tools for both the physicality side of this and the mental productivity side of this. So let's start with practical tools for preventing health issues. So my next question for you guys is, when do you move during the day? And I just saw Lyndsay's face like, oh, right. This is not like a judgment-based question. I'm just curious, like, do you get up and do you move in the morning? Do you exercise during the day? Do you move up and down during your work day? When do you move throughout the day? Just throw your answer in the chat box. I'll tell you guys my movement hack personally is that I'm like a morning person. I don't know what it is. I roll out of bed. I'm like, let's do this thing. So I walk about 2.5 miles every morning so that by the end of the day, yeah, just like Jill, get my morning workout in. So that the end of the day, I don't look at my Fitbit and say, oh my gosh, I got 9,000 more steps I got to take. Beautiful. So yeah, Erna said, I start my day with yoga. Beautiful. Yes. Mary said, I never seem to move enough. I feel like I spend more time seated when working. And that's like the chronic issue. No matter if we're working from home, in the office, sedentary work, especially at the computer, is kind of been baked into how we work, especially in the American workplace. And so we have to take intentional steps to kind of counter this. Yeah. Oh, I love this. Carrie said, I don't smoke, so instead of a smoke break, I go for a walk. Beautiful. Yeah. I see people saying an evening workout, going to the gym early and then walk an hour in the evening. Beautiful. Oh, love this. Ben says, I pace when I'm on the phone. Yeah, this is so true. Carrie said, if my butt starts to get numb, I get up and do some push-ups. And we're actually going to talk about that today, these signals that signal to our body, hey, it's time to get up and move, and maybe how we can actually move before our body is saying, oh my God, you've been seated for 4 hours, let's do something. All right, so the first thing that we want to consider is this idea of movement during the day of sitting and standing, right? We've all heard probably by this point, like sitting is the new smoking. We sit for 8 hours a day. Sedentary lifestyle is so bad for us, which I always feel like it's such a double-edged sword because on one hand, it's helpful to know that movement is really important, but also it can kind of feel a little bit not helpful in wanting to take care of ourselves. And we're like, oh my God, I've just been sitting for 8 hours for the last 10 years. What's the point, right? Let me give you some comfort today that both sitting and standing are really helpful for your body. Your body wants to do both, and there are benefits for both. So standing desks, which some people have already mentioned that they use in the chat, are impactful ways to kind of create a little bit of movement throughout the day so that you're not stuck just totally standing or totally sitting all day. The benefits of standing is that standing increases blood flow and induces muscle movement to lessen stiffness, especially for those muscles that get stiff when we're seated. It opens up muscles and angles in our body. If you think about sitting all day, you can't see my legs right now, but your knees are tucked up, your hip joints are all those muscles in there are tense throughout the day. So just standing up, if you haven't stood up yet today, just do yourself a favor and do that for a second. Just notice what it feels like to stand up, stretch the front of your hips, right? So standing is really great for inducing blood flow. There are two kind of just very practical ways to bring standing into your workspace. Number one is a tool called a tabletop converter. Now here on the screen, you can see a tabletop converter that you might be able to purchase. These are basically little computer desk elevators that can be easily placed on whatever work surface you currently have. Now, something to note about the image on the screen, you'll see that the laptop is placed a little bit higher than the keyboard, and that's to make sure that you still have a healthy angle of your elbows and wrists while you're typing so that your arms aren't up here typing like this, creating funky angles in your elbows and your wrists, right? Now, just a PSA, you don't necessarily have to buy a fancy tabletop converter. When I first started working from home, I was using yoga blocks to create a makeshift standing desk. So if you look around your workstation right now and you don't have a standing desk, consider, is there something in your space that you could use to put your laptop up so that your eyes are parallel to the floor? Or is there something that you can use to put your keyboard a little bit up so that maybe if you don't have a separate keyboard, it's something to consider, and we'll talk a little bit about that, but so that your arms are at a 90-degree angle. The other is obviously a convertible desk. Now, convertible desks are something that you can purchase online, but we'll talk about why something like having a simple tabletop converter or a convertible desk that actually moves all the way up and down are really helpful to encourage movement because they're easy to use, right? It's not hard to move a standing desk up and down. It takes about 5 minutes for me when I used to do the whole yoga block situation. So sitting and standing are both helpful. Sitting actually gives your muscles a break during the day. So it relieves pressure from your joints. It can be helpful to incorporate both so that you don't get strained from standing all day or sitting all day. And that is really the key here. considering a dynamic workstation. And that's where these easy to use tools become really helpful, because there's actually been, a lot of research, especially in recent years, about this concept of sitting and standing. And there's one body of research actually coming directly from the International Ergonomic Association pointed out that just having the ability to get up and down during the workday doesn't actually make us do it. Our human brains are amazing and great at a lot of things, but doing things that require energy that we don't have to expend, our brains are not really great at that, right? So the research shows that 50% of employees don't change from a seated to standing position, even if they have a standing desk. And employees are 40% less likely to adjust a standing desk if the process is noisy or it takes too long. So if you're considering, should I get a standing desk? Shouldn't I get a standing desk? Consider that getting one and investing in one that you like, that works, that's easy to use, is going to make you a lot more likely to use it. Don't just kind of go halfway with it, because the chances that you'll just kind of have the tabletop converter but never use it are maybe higher than we want to imagine. So let's just keep it real with our practical tools here. All right, so a little bit about standing desk, a little bit about getting up and down during the day. Tips, just a few more practical tips about this are, I love that Carrie said, like, I notice if my butt gets numb, I want to get up and do some push-ups. We rely as human beings on signals from our body to get up and move when we're not feeling like getting up and moving, right? Our brains are hyper-focused on whatever they need to be focused on during the day. Data spreadsheets, work, Zoom meetings, filing whatever reports you got to file, planning events, right? So our body isn't constantly sitting there and thinking, ooh, how do my ankles feel? Ooh, how do my hips feel? The point here is that our bodies we want to move our bodies before we start to feel stiffness or numbness. You can think of that as essentially your body's alarm system saying, hey, it's been a really long time, we need some attention. And in our fast-paced world, we're really trained to kind of ignore those signals. So consider setting timers on your phone. Consider if you have any sort of smart wearable, like a smartwatch or Fitbit, there are alarms you can set on those to help you get up and move. And the general kind of rule of thumb here is you want to have maybe a 1-to-1 ratio between sitting and standing, but also, so that's like 30 minutes up, 30 minutes down. But other research shows it can be 1-to-3. So for every 45 minutes, or if you want to get a little aggressive with it, 45 minutes standing, you can sit for 15 minutes, but it's really just about that constant movement. As one of the chiropractors that works with us loves to say, the best position is the next position. So just consider that simple moving. Someone was mentioning yoga, simply getting up and doing some stretches, literally just taking your chin down to your chest and taking a few deep breaths. Right, you can do that right now and just notice how it feels. Just sending signals to your body of the awareness of tension in your body can be enough to help your body realize, oh yeah, I need to pay attention to this. And then you can like take a deep breath, roll your shoulders back. That movement is incredibly helpful. So movement, set reminders to stretch or walk throughout the day, and consider that there is a huge benefit to having that standard movement time. Like maybe you do a workout. I love to go on walks, right? But also there's a lot of benefit, different benefit and important benefit to moving throughout the day. So some practical tips. Don't do a Zoom meeting. Do a phone meeting and walk during your phone meeting. Somebody earlier said, I like to pace. Yeah, Ben said I pace when I'm on the phone. That's great. That's actually a really healthy habit. So these don't have to be like big monumental things. You don't have to be like, oh, I have to make myself do a Peloton workout today, right? Like, honestly, I run a well-being company and to me that sounds aggressive. So, for a lot of us, that's a lot. You don't have to do that. Just get up and move. It really makes all the difference. Okay, so then, and we've seen this word come up already, posture. So the most vulnerable parts of our bodies at our workstation are our wrists, our neck, our back, and our feet. So when we can, especially if we're standing, so when we can kind of be aware of those throughout the day, we can set up tools, reminders, even use different equipment that can help us take strain off of those key areas that are affected by our workstation. So number one would be fix your monitor. So I just want you to take a second wherever you are and look at your monitor. You want to do a test of your eye height. So if you look straight in front of you, so don't look at your monitor for a second, just sit up tall and look straight in front of you so that your eye level is parallel to the floor. Are you looking at your computer screen? If the answer is yes, wonderful. If the answer is no, you want to move that monitor, that computer screen up so that it's in line. You can see pretty easily the difference sitting all day like this and sitting all day like this, right? That small movement is small, but when you compound that by all the minutes of all the days that you sit at your desk, it makes a really big difference. So you want it to be eye level and about 20 inches away from your eyes. Like we all know, our parents always used to say, don't stand like this at the television screen. It's true, you don't want to be too close to the computer screen or any screen when you're using it all day. Also, something to note about your phone. Not many of us stand with our phone this far away from our faces, but be mindful if you are one of the people that likes to scroll through the phone at the end of the day, like probably 100% of us are, that your phone isn't, 4 inches from your nose that entire time. All right, so the next is to loosen your grip on your mouse. Now, this is if you use a mouse. A lot of us use touch pads during the day. I would really highly encourage you to consider investing in a separate mouse. Touch pads during the day, our natural wrist position and alignment, when we use a touchpad, is constantly kind of putting strain on those really sensitive, fragile tendons and muscles in our wrists and our forearms and our hands. So consider investing in a mouse. Notice how tightly you're gripping your mouse. It's a stressful time. It's a stressful time for all of us. We embody stress through tension in our body, and it's not uncommon, just like we notice sometimes that we're gripping the steering wheel, for us to be gripping our mouse really tightly, which can create all sorts of stiffness in your muscles that, all of our muscles and joints are all connected, so it doesn't end in your. The other thing to consider is something like this really funky looking mouse that I have right here, which is an ergonomic mouse, which is actually positioned so that it creates a neutral wrist positioning in your hand. One more quick note about wrists is that if you do not have a detached keyboard, it's really helpful, because if you noticed, if you did the test with, Chris says I have one of those. I love that ergonomic mouse. Love it. If you notice when you did the test with your computer, if you're using a laptop, it is impossible to have your elbows at a 90 or more degree angle, which is the healthiest angle for your elbows, while you use a laptop, because of the way that the laptop is positioned. So consider getting some sort of Bluetooth keyboard. There are actually really funky looking ergonomic keyboards out there, which also do a lot to keep your wrists in a neutral position. The next thing is adjusting your seat. So I think Lyndsay was the one who said, I just got a nice new chair. Using our dining room chair, Ernest said, any mouse recommendations, brand or model? Well, we are not sponsored by them, but I can tell you Anker, A-N-K-E-R, is the name of the mouse that I currently have, and I use a Logi keyboard. But those are not the only two pieces of equipment out there. I would explore them. What we'll learn in a second is choose one that gets great reviews for the ergonomic features, but also that you like, right? Because you're going to be using it every single day. So for knee pain, but also hips and back, your chair is really important. At the start of working remote, if this is a new environment for you, the dining room chair was just the chair we used, right? But as we start to notice, maybe some of us don't have plans to go back to our office. Maybe our plans to go back to our office are far, far away, right? We need to invest, for the sake of our health, in the things in our environment that will help us stay healthy, because as we talked about, mental health and physical health are integrally connected, right? We sometimes hear mind, body, but it's all in the same body, guys. Your mind is part of your body. So investing in these tools like a comfortable chair. Consider that while sitting, your chair should allow your knees to rest at a 90-degree angle, and that having a little bit of cushioning in the seat of your chair can be really effective to relieve pressure off of your spine. Other things to consider about your chair are lumbar support, so low back support, whether you get a chair that has that support, or they do make pieces of equipment like little pillows and lumbar supports that you can add to your workstation. All right, so one that we didn't get to in this one is feet, but consider that when you are standing, especially if you are barefoot, not wearing shoes, and standing on a flat surface all day, it causes your arches to flatten, which can create misalignment through your ankles, your knees, your hips, all of the areas of your body. And so making sure that you have proper footwear and then potentially a standing desk mat can be really effective ways to kind of mitigate some of the tendency we have to stand with improper posture in our feet. Oh, I love this. Laura said I've had a ball chair for years. I don't know if you guys have ever seen those, but it's like those giant balls you might see at a gym or a physical therapist's office, and you sit on that, and that can do a lot to engage your core, right? This is the beautiful thing. There's no one right answer of how to create an ergonomic workstation that works for you. Try different things out. Explore different options that might work for you and pick the things that work for you. And as always, consult a doctor or physician before making any changes based on, your physical health or for an injury or anything like that. These are very general recommendations. All right, one more thing to note about our physical space is the use of light. So the 20-20-20 rule is one that I love. From a hardware perspective, basically the light that we take in throughout the day when we're on our technology all day is not the same type of light that we would be getting if we were, living amongst the trees in the forest as humans used to do, right? So you hear a lot of bad things about blue light. Blue light is so bad. Blue light is not inherently bad. The sunlight that we get during the day, that's the same quality of light as this blue light that we're talking about. But the problem with blue light is that when we're looking at it until 9 p.m. at night, and then all of a sudden we say to our brains, okay, time to go to bed, our bodies haven't had that time to settle into the circadian rhythm that actually helps us fall asleep. So from a tech perspective, there are such things as blue light glasses that you can get that help to filter out blue light. Also, as much as we can try to set work-life boundaries so that we do stop using screens at least 2 hours before bed, that's obviously great. But even just practically during the day, I always like to say these little tips, if they seem so small, they almost seem like they're not worth doing. They're probably the perfect thing to do because you're going to do them, right? You might not get up and do 10 push-ups every hour on the hour, but you might do the 20-20-20 exercise. So this is one that you guys can try with me right now. The concept is for every 20 minutes of screen time, you want to look at something at least 20 feet away for about 20 seconds. So wherever you are, if you can find something, even if it's out a window, I'm lucky enough to be looking out a window right now, that is 20 feet away. We're just going to do 5 big rounds of breath to try to get approximately 20 seconds. So when you're ready, start to breathe with me. Take a big breath in, big breath out. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Big breath in through your nose. Open your mouth, sigh it out. And then look back at your screen. I also gave you a little 2-for-1 trick there because Carrie says, oh, look, it's windy outside. Yes, that's also a mindfulness exercise. We have a totally different workshop at On the Goga called Virtual Sustainability, which is all about creating a sustainable environment with our virtual workspace. Because when we work at the computer all day, it can be a feeling like we're in the computer, like we've literally been in the computer, and then someone taps you on the shoulder and you're like, whoa, uh-oh, right? I'm in the real world. Doing that for 20 seconds is enough to realize, oh, it's windy outside. Oh my gosh, look at the beautiful way that the light is coming in through the trees. Maybe it's just hearing something in your house. Maybe you hear, I don't know, your child laughing, right? Maybe you hear the sound of your cat purring. Whatever it is, it's a moment to practice mindfulness. And that deep breathing, that's another nice when you take nice deep breaths, it signals to your brainstem that it's okay to engage in our relaxation response, the opposite of our stress response. So that's like a many birds, one stone type of exercise. Yes, 20-20-20. For every 20 minutes you look at a screen, take 20 seconds to look about 20 feet away. If it's 10 feet away, no big deal. Look down a hallway if you need to. All right, cool. So if you have questions about physical, save it for the end. We're going to get there. I'm going to breeze through for our last couple of minutes, just some practical tools for increasing the productivity of our space. So I would love to hear what's not working right now in your workspace. You started with what is working, what do you love about it? I'd love to hear if there's anything that isn't working about your workspace. One thing that Lyndsay and I were joking about before we started this is that when I step too far this way, I'm covered in strange sunlight. And then I step this way and I'm not covered by strange sunlight, right? Yeah, Ernest said my chair's just not working. I don't love my chair right now. Wonderful. Yeah. What else? This could be something physically about your workspace, like the hardware of your workspace or the where it's located. Or it might be that you're sharing your workspace with a partner who's also working from home or a roommate or anyone. Yeah. Jill, this is a great one. Just working from home, not being able to meet with people, being isolated, that's not working for us. Yes, great. So keep those coming in. I'm just going to go through a few different things that can really help us to increase productivity in our workspace. Number one, this is just a really simple, practical one. Having 2 monitors has been shown to increase productivity simply because it keeps us from having to toggle between all of the tabs. Oh, I love these coming in. Yeah, Karen said, enjoying lots of natural light for my sanity, but not ideal for video calls. Yes, totally. Yeah, and that's a big part in working from home is that some things work really well and some things don't work well at all, right? It's usually not all one or all the other. Yeah, like working with half of my pajamas on. Yeah, I totally feel that. It's hilarious. I'm not going to buy work pants for the next year, right? You just really need to have it going on from the top up. Okay, so dedicated space. I was really happy to see when we first asked the question, when Lyndsay asked, where are you tuning in from, that a lot of you said home office. I cannot iterate how important it is to create a dedicated space for work. This is really about stress management and training our brain to be focused when we are at work. So even if you don't have a home office, something to consider is having one dedicated space for work. And at the end of the day, pack up that laptop, slide the monitor in a closet, put work away. You do not need to be looking at your work materials when you're at home, especially when we don't have that physical boundary between work and life. We have to create it for ourselves. Environment. So this is all about taking things out of your environment that might limit distractions, maybe some noise canceling headphones. Maybe you turn your computer away from or move it out of the kitchen, because I know I always want to eat whenever I'm in the kitchen. But it can also be about adding things into your environment that make you smile. That's why we always start our presentations with a picture of an adorable animal, right? That's why I encourage you, when you buy a chair or you get a keyboard or you buy a mouse, buy something that you like. Have those plants in your workspace. The environment that we work in has a massive impact on our mood and our stress, and that is directly informs our productivity. And finally, space design. So not just sitting by natural windows, but again, putting things in your environment that make you happy. Even noticing the colors around you, allowing yourself some ease and some compassion to make an investment in some tool. Maybe you pick even just the one tool that's really going to enhance your workspace and do that for yourself. That's something we can do for ourselves right now. And it's a really simple way to give ourselves a little bit of practical health and happiness throughout the day. So that's where I'm going to leave it with you guys for today. I would go into all different things about colors, but we simply just don't have time, and I want to get to your questions. So I'll leave you with a little quote that says, by W. Clement Stone, "You are the product of your environment. Are the things around you helping you toward success, or are they holding you back? it's such an important question to ask ourselves right now, especially knowing that for many of us, this work from home is going to be around for a while, and it's okay to make some changes now, even if it's only for 4 weeks, and even if the only reason to do it is that it makes you feel a little happier and a little healthier. So thanks for coming, guys. I would be super happy to answer any questions that you have. If you want to drop them in the chat or raise your hand.
Thank you, Anna. That was awesome. I have a question for you to start. So many of our small business owners are really conscious of finances right now.
Yeah.
So what is the one thing that people should splurge on if they, want to carve something out, knowing that we're probably going to be in this environment for quite a bit longer? And what's the thing they shouldn't splurge on?
Great question. So, oh yeah, and that's what Mary just asked, if you can afford one thing. So I think that's a really hard question to answer because every single person is different in their environment. But one thing, I'll talk about individually, and then I'll talk about for leaders. So individually, we really can ask ourselves, like, what is the one thing that's really not working in our environment? What's the one thing? Is it maybe even we just notice, is there a part of our body that's really not loving what's going on right now? And see if there is one piece of an ergonomic tool that you can invest in for your number one pain point. Mine personally is I have an Upright Go, which is this little posture corrector. It's this tiny little piece of technology that sits on your back. Mine's charging downstairs, but it sits on your back. And when you start to slunge forward, it just vibrates and you're like, oh yeah, I want to sit up a little bit straighter. So that's my personal one. But I would encourage leaders, if you want to, and this is such a great thing to do right now, provide your employees with a little stipend towards something that will improve their home office. We encourage our clients to set a dollar amount and then give that dollar amount for people to choose what's going to work for them, because you're never going to be able to make everybody happy. In terms of things that you don't need to splurge on, I would say, honestly, before you make an investment in a piece of technology, just consider the basics. Consider movement, open angles. Consider if you can get up and move during the day. Can you put just a glass of water on your desk so that you're drinking and hydrating during the day? Again, these little things, we like to think that, oh, they don't really matter. I'd have to do this big thing, make this big change. But those little things are the only things that matter over time. So before you make any investment, make those free changes in your workspace, even just move things around. Yeah, great question.
Awesome. And it looks like we're getting a couple others into the chat as well.
I just put for Deborah, it's called the Upright Go. Yeah, again, that's just like a personal recommendation. We don't have any affiliation or anything with them, but just to be honest, it's my favorite piece of technology that I have found. Yeah.
And there was a question around how we can translate this back into the business workspace, the corporate workspace when we return.
Such a great question. I think this is twofold. Number one is individuals. Once you learn them, you have these tools. As leaders, do an ergonomic audit of your workspace. Look around using these tools when you come back to work. Obviously, we're all going to be making adjustments to our workspaces to create healthy spaces for social distancing as things, start to reopen. And so include in that workspace audit an audit of the ergonomics of your workspace. Often we find that there are simple, low-hanging fruit types of changes that we can make to our workspace. And consider even policies that restrict people from customizing the ergonomics of their workstation. So if you have a policy that says you can't have anything on your desk, you can't have any decorations, really ask yourself, what is the purpose of that policy? And is it truly increasing the productivity of my team? Because we find often that people, when they're limited to customize the workspace to work for them, they're going to suffer in their productivity. So think about that from the policy perspective. Yeah, great question. So people are asking about recommendations for specific chairs. We do have, which I'd be happy to share with Lyndsay after the fact, maybe you can share this out, a couple of just like super basic guides for ergonomic workstations that I'd be happy to share. So I'll share that out with Lyndsay, and then hopefully we can get that out to all of you guys. Yeah, great questions. So, okay, Erna said, I would love chair guidance. I have a lumbar thing that isn't working. Should I keep looking or just suck it up and get a chair that would be considered an investment? So this is a great question. And I love, Erna, that you tried the lumbar support and you're like, you know what, this really isn't working. A couple things to consider here. I can't give you specific recommendations for yourself, but I can give you general recommendations. Two things. Number one, when we have ongoing chronic pain, whether it's low back pain or wrist pain, it may be rooted in the ergonomics of our work environment, or it may be getting exasperated by our work environment, but coming from a different place. Sometimes we actually have to strengthen our core or address an underlying issue. So I would definitely recommend consulting your doctor and asking them about the root cause of your pain. And then, yeah, the way I always frame this of should I make investment, should I not? Love that you started small. That's actually one of our core values at On the Goga. And then do your research. So based on like maybe talking with your doctor about what your needs are, consider the breakdown of how much it costs you every hour to have that chair and frame that as how you make the investment in your mind. Because if you're like, oh my God, a $300 chair, you might be like, no way. But if you're like, my company said I'm not coming back to work until, I don't know, a year from now, do the minute by minute. And if you'd give that many cents a minute to be sitting in the better chair, that's another way to frame this and help us make more value aligned investments in our own health. Yeah, great question.
Super helpful.
Yeah. Great. Well, are there any other questions that we missed in here?
No, I think we've gotten to most of them. Well, I just have one sort of question for you as we wrap up, which is, you shared at the very beginning that the company's motto is that happy people do great things. And It just made me smile. So talk to us about how you built that as your motto and what that means in terms of your corporate culture.
Yeah, it's such a great question. So essentially, my background before I started on the Goga was really in mindfulness and the science and the psychology around how, true happiness, true joy isn't one particular moment. It's certainly not juicing kale or, running every day because you feel like you should. It's about developing a practice skill set of understanding ourselves, understanding the world around us, getting the tools and information we need to make the decisions that feel good for us. And so and kind of starting on the Goga, my original, kind of plan for this was let's bring these practices to people in a research-backed, relatable way. And coming out into the world of wellness, we realized there really wasn't a company that was strictly focused on giving employees the tools that they need to feel happy and healthy during the day, just like the practical things we talked about today, right? They're not these huge, massive changes. They're small things that maybe even when you think about it, you're like, oh yeah, I did know that, right? Giving people those tools. And so what we do today is we work with organizations to teach workshops. We have over 200 unique virtual workshops that we teach with our clients, but we also do consulting to help leaders learn how to learn these skills and train them to their teams. Or we talked a little bit about policy, how to make sure that your organizational policies are really aligned so that when people walk in to their workspace or open up their computer or tell somebody about their job, they're really proud to say, like, I work for a company that values like my happiness. And then luckily that's validated with a ton of research about how those people are the most high performing, most loyal people with the lowest rates of retention. So that's kind of like the purpose of what we do and why we do it.
I love it. Well, I think that is a beautiful place to end, a happy place to end, as it were. Thanks to you, Anna, for being with us. It was great to have you today. And thanks to everyone who joined us as well. It was a great conversation. Loved all of the comments and questions coming into the chat. So just a quick reminder on our schedule for the rest of the day. At noon, we have a number of breakouts on business trends. If you have not registered for those already, you can just log back in to the event hub and sign up for those. We have a couple of spots still available. And then at 2 o'clock, drum roll, we will host our annual Dream Big Awards, which is really exciting. We're going to award winners in 8 different categories, including naming the Small Business of the Year, who's going to win a $25,000 cash prize. And we have some awesome celebrity guests joining us to announce the winners. Everyone from Damon John of Shark Tank to Isaiah Thomas of the NBA. So do join us at noon. Join us at 2 o'clock for the Dream Big Awards. Thank you all. And most importantly, thank you, Anna. Thanks, everybody. See you soon.
So nice to meet you. Bye.